conclusion to the ARCA Menards Series East season for 2025, and it was Isaac Kitzmiller who ended up claiming the championship over Tyler Reif. He only gained 2 points on him. He needed to gain quite a bit more than that in order to snatch the championship away. Also, by the way, I want to give a shout out to Zachary Tinkle. I know it wasn't the day that he was hoping for, but came into the race in third place, I believe only 30 points back from the championship lead, if I recall correctly. And for a fast track racing team that is largely known these days as being a field filler and start and park on many occasions, for them to go full-time in the East Series with Zachary and run the full races and get to the point where they had, albeit a long shot, a mathematical chance of a championship going into this weekend, I think is very, very special for Zachary and that team. And to finish third in the standings as well, great season for him, certainly worthy of a shining moment. And we'll get into more of those, obviously, at the end of the show. But just want to give him a shout out real quick. But the main battle was between Kitzmiller and Reif. Kitzmiller is the one who came out on top. But get this, Brandon. Isaac Kitzmiller wins the championship. No laps led all season. No top three finishes all season. Now, the caveat there is obviously this series is run very uniquely right now in that the entire back half of it is all combo races with the National ARCA Menards Series Tour. So you do have to compete against the Joe Gibbs Racing 18 team and what Brendan Queen is doing this year of a national tour. That's the entire back half of the schedule. And those guys, some of those guys even show up to the East standalone races as well. So it presents a unique situation there where you have these guys who aren't full-time, aren't competing for the championship, but there's almost always somebody in that car every week and preventing obviously the series regulars from pulling into victory lane themselves. What does Isaac Kitzmiller's season, as strong as it was and as deserving, take absolutely nothing away from him? We're so happy. I know Matthew Bro, our colleague here at the Grid Network especially, works very closely with that family and that team. But what's your reaction to a driver winning the championship in a series where he didn't lead a lap all year, I know we don't have podiums in ARCA or NASCAR necessarily, but didn't have a podium finish, so to speak, the entire season as well?
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the caveat that the back half of the season was with the combo races, so that does provide a lot of context for one that may not know. But it really kind of shows a lack of, a lack of car count, I guess, and just showing kind of a weak, pretty good turnout, of course, with this combo race here, but Bristol and being the finale for the East, but it's just the weaker of the three, I guess, when you look at ARCA West and the main ARCA, of course. ARCA East just showing the trouble that it has as far as, to crown your champion and have no wins, but no, not even a top three, not even a lap led. Like that's something kind of flawed with the way that you're deciding your champion. And it hasn't happened that way every year, but this year kind of showing up wonky on the stat sheet.
Yeah, and again, it's not their fault by any means. Max Reeves, and again, this goes back to even in the non-combo races. You had Max Reeves out there, the 15-year-old kid in the Gibbs number 18 car, who I guess is going to be the driver to run that car for the next couple of years in this series. Won 3 of the 4 standalone races, and Brent Cruz won the one at Rockingham as well. And then you get to the combo races and you have to compete against even more of those guys. And it just creates this unique dynamic where you look at the front of the standings and we saw it in the National ARCA Tour last year as well. We didn't have any full-timers win races because it was just the 18 and 28 trading off victories, and a part-timer from Venturini got one here or there, and then that was pretty much it. So again, it does present this interesting irony, the fact that NASCAR has acquired ARCA and has gone all in on the playoffs and winning you're in Championship 4, and then you turn over to ARCA and just the way the series is run right now and the way the top teams are run right now with their rotations, and the way the East Series in particular is scheduled, it leads to a situation like this. So again, it is so cool for the Kitzmiller family, Isaac and Jason, his father, and Jason drives himself, as you see him there in 9th place as well. That team does a lot with maybe not as much a lot with a little as, the Brad Smiths or Andy Hillenbergs of the world, but they also, I don't think, have the equipment or the capabilities to put cars out on a track that Gibbs and Pinnacle or Venturini do.
Yeah, so very legitimate championship.
Yes.
But I think the fear I might have is with NASCAR, of course, being the owner of it and looking over to their auxiliary properties and go, oh boy, this doesn't look too great on paper. Let's fix that with the playoffs. Like take some of the last things that are pure and wholesome away.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how you do a playoff in a series that only has 8 races to begin with, but again, only 4 of those are standalone East Series races here. So I'll just go back to, I think I've said it on this show before, but if East cannot recapture the identity that it once had, because it wasn't that long ago. You can go back just a decade to the mid 2010s. K&N East and West were, I think, equally as strong and had equally as unique identities that made those series unique. We don't really have that in East right now, and I would much rather, the Five Flags and Rockinghams and Nashville's and Flat Rocks of the world. Maybe not Flat Rock, but we need more tracks like Flat Rock, or going back to New Jersey Motorsports Park or New Smyrna Speedway, or tracks like that here on the East Coast. I mean, goodness knows there are plenty up here in New England that the modifieds are going to. Why couldn't they host some ARCA cars? We need that, or else I think the solution that I would like to see is, I would rather see a 24 race ARCA calendar, and ARCA West can still continue to hit the tracks on the West Coast that they are able to visit, and have that series be its own separate thing. And that's continuation of the old Winston West series from decades gone by. But if East cannot reclaim that identity, then I think that is much rather what I would see, 24 big ARCA races rather than making 4 of those East standalones. And we'll say Dover, IRP, Iowa, and Bristol are combo races, and we'll award points and we'll keep an eye on the championship. But it's when so much of your schedule is combo races, full 50%, it does leave you kind of wondering in many ways, what's the point? So, and again, not to take away from the seasons that Isaac Kitzmiller and as well as Tyler Reif and Zachary Tinkle had, but it's more just looking at how can we kind of prop the series up to give it more of its own identity again. And I don't think making it half combo races is the way to do it. So
yeah,
we'll leave it there. But yeah, sorry, Brandon, if you want to respond to that real quick.
That's a fair point. I mean, if you want it to have its own identity again, maybe stop combining it with your national series, and it will. But again, that there's probably there's got to be a reason that they started combining to begin with. It was, I would assume, just hard to keep it going as a individual car, as far as car count, and also getting fans in the seats. Of course, Bristol is you don't think about that too much because it's massive, but the other places that ARCA East goes to, just the ability to get people in the seats too, and also just the way that the top 2 cars you typically seem to dominate or lead every lap of the race, like we saw in ARCA West this weekend. I mean, it happens on that side too. There's a bunch of different factors that go into it.
Yeah, and again, I also want to say, and people have brought this up as well, I don't know that Bristol is the best track for ARCA in its current form, at least.
Sure.
Because of how high banked it is and how high the speeds are, and because of how great the speed differentials are between the top teams in this series and the teams on this page of the results here. And God bless the Brad Smiths and Alex Clubs and Club Racings and teams like that of the world, Wayne Peterson as well. I love those underdogs of this series, and love their spirit, and love that they continue to show up, week in and week out. But the reality is when you put those cars out there with Joe Gibbs Racing and Venturini Motorsports and Pinnacle Racing Group, I mean, it's just the closing rates on some of these lap cars is just something that I sometimes get a little nervous about, because and we've seen it sometimes before. It can lead to some unpleasant things on the track and some dangerous situations on the track. And that's something that I think we should all be trying to avoid as much as possible. So again, I don't think it's impossible. I think there are a lot of tracks out there that, the East Series could go to and go back to. I mean, because it wasn't that long ago that they had a very nice, vibrant and thriving schedule. But I don't know that they currently have that here when you get to the summer months and you only have 4 races left and they're all combo races where you're kind of brushed to the side anyway. And I also want to just one final note before we move on. People can correct me in the chat or the comments if I'm wrong here, but I don't believe Fox Sports interviewed Isaac Kitzmiller. Again, think about that for just a second.
Right. The champion,
You crowned a champion live on FS1. How do you not take a few minutes? And it's not like you didn't have the airtime. You were airing a truck race right after that. And I think you just showed, I mean, I mentioned it in our grid chat, that video of Dale Jr. introducing the 1987 Winston 500, the condensed version of that, like a NASCAR Classic sort of half hour. I mean, the fact that they're using that for filler time instead of, I don't know, previewing the Truck Series race, doing a more in-depth recap of the ARCA East season. I know Fox doesn't do all the East races, but they do half the East races because half of them are just combo races. It felt like there was an opportunity to capitalize on some of those storylines. And I mean, when you're crowning a champion, for crying out loud, I mean, we're doing it right now. There are some weeks where, the East Series race is pretty simple. The Gibbs car leads every lap, and there's just not as much to talk about. But when you crown a champion, I feel like that's worthy of at least mentioning, and not that they didn't mention it, but at least when you're at the track, send your pit road reporters to talk to the guy, for crying out loud, for just a couple of minutes. That's all you have to do.
Send somebody.
Yeah. It's just very frustrating, but also, unfortunately, I think not surprising given the current state of Fox Sports' NASCAR coverage. So,
well, I mean, it kind of shows the lack of importance that they put on the East champion.
Yeah,
I mean,
there you go.
So, I mean, you got to have that recognition. Even if they are, no top 3 finishes or laps led.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Brandon, because think of the West schedule. What's the one combo race for West? It's the Spring Phoenix race. Where does West decide their champions? The Fall Phoenix race, right? So West can still have their combo race and bring Big ARCA in and have that race one time a year. I think that's fine, and it helps that it's part of championship weekend now. I assume it won't be next year. I don't imagine we're sending the West guys out to Homestead, Miami. Right? But it helps that you're already on championship weekend, and that's on everybody's mind. But when we crown our West champion, it is a West standalone race. And yes, a lot of the Big ARCA guys show up because it's the last race of the year and it's a fairly big weekend. But that is the focus of that race. The focus of this race was part ARCA East finale, part, okay, here, what's going to happen throughout the rest of the ARCA season after the race tonight. And I don't love that.